Today we will be taking a look at what would happen if the jewel of Japanese soccer, otherwise known as Kira Ryosuke, never got eliminated and instead became a part of Team Z. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Just be sure to leave a like if you enjoy it. And also please subscribe to my other channels down in the description. Now let's get into it. Chapter 1 would be the same. Isagi would lose to Kira, and they would then meet outside of Blue Lock, where once again Kira opposes Ego's philosophy. The tag game would also be pretty much the same, as Isagi and Bachira will still awaken, and they will try and take out Kira. They manage to tag him when there are 2 seconds left, just like in the normal timeline. However, this is where it starts to change, as instead of wasting his time, he would have locked in and used his last second to tag the injured Igarashi, who was unable to move, which was just like Ego said to him. This would make it so that Igarashi would be the last person to be tagged, and because of that unfortunately be eliminated. Ego would still compliment both Isagi and Bachira for still going after Kira. And Kira would be a bit angry at Isagi, as he thought that they were friends, but Isagi still tried to take him out, so going further, he will be a bit cautious of both Bachira but mostly Isagi. Ego would then have his speech about how exciting this is, and then telling them that they have become a team now, while they will decide on their own if they want to cooperate with each other or betray each other. Anyway, as they get to their rooms, Kira would right away actually confront Isagi. He asks Isagi why he almost betrayed Kira in there, but Isagi wouldn't really have a solid answer, except that he felt an instinct that he needed to go for the strongest if he wanted to get stronger. Kira wouldn't be satisfied with this, and started to get angry, but that's when Kunigami came and told them to take it chill and not to fight. Kira agreed to drop it for now, however he was still very annoyed by Isagi. Ego then started to talk about the first selection, and how they would be playing games against the other stratums, also telling them to stop relying on things like positions and teamwork. However, Kira doesn't like that at all, and he tells the others that he is really against it, and just like in the original story, they would start by playing rock, paper, scissors to decide. The game against Baru would then start, and it would be the same. Raichi would think that he is someone and steal the ball from Isagi, completely ignoring what they talked about earlier. Isagi and Kira would be extremely angry about this, and after that, it would all end up in chaos, as they all went for the ball. Kira also didn't want to be the only one playing fair, so he also went and tried to get the ball, however it was impossible. But the one who could get out of that pit of players was of course Baru, who managed to get the ball. He then styled on Team Z and scored. All of Team Z was then super angry at each other and blamed each other. Kira tried to tell everyone to calm down, however. When you have people like Raichi on the team, it's not as easy as it sounds. Then Team Z would start with the ball, but it would get stolen by Baru. All of Team Z would then rush to stop him. However, he passed it backwards to his teammates, which shocked them all. However, I believe that Kira wouldn't get tricked by this, and instead of going towards Baru like everyone else, he would stand back, and he would see that Baru is planning something, so he would stay behind and act like a last defense. However, he wouldn't be able to do anything to stop the goal from happening, as firstly, it's 3 players from Team Baru coming to attack, and Kira isn't a defender to begin with, so ultimately Team Baru would score their second goal. And to be fully honest, I'm pretty sure it would just continue like that. Kira would try his best to convince them that what they are doing isn't working. However, Raichi and the others would just argue between themselves, so Team Baru would just score more and more goals, and it would go like the match did in the original timeline where Team Baru led with 5 goals to 0. This was when Isagi and Bachira, they would break through. However, when Baru then approached Isagi, I think that alongside both Raichi and Kunigami, Kira would also be there asking Isagi for a pass, and from here it's basically just luck, as Isagi himself said that he didn't really have a reason that he passed Kunigami, but that his body moved on its own. But as this is a what if with Kira, we have to spicy it up somehow, so I think that Isagi would pass Kira and Kira would then obviously score. Now Raichi would still get pissed on Isagi, however Kira would thank him for the pass, and because he got the pass from Isagi, he wouldn't longer be mad that Isagi tried to get him out earlier, as it's like they are even now. We then fast forward to the next game between Team Y, who was in the same boat as Team Z, as they had lost their first game. Here's also when Team Z came up with the "I'll be the next 9" tactic, which was that they all rotate to the striker position every 10 minutes, and the others will have to support whoever is the current striker, and sadly, Team Y would actually get the first goal, as thanks to the "I'll be the next 9" tactic, Kira would currently play on the right wing, which means that he can't really do much against Okawa's attack. Now I'm gonna be honest, this game isn't the best for Kira, as he has taken Igarashi's place, which was the last one in the formation, which means that Kira really isn't going to get to show off that much. However, something happens now. Team Z had gotten a cross in which was when Isagi realized that Nico was the mastermind and ran to stop him. I think that since Kira is right now in the position under Isagi, I think that he would be closely looking at Isagi. Isagi would then win the ball off Nico, and Kira would be free by his side, and if Isagi passed, then they could get the first goal. However, Isagi had Baru's words in the back of his mind when he told him that he had failed as a striker for passing, so Isagi would still take the shot himself, and which would result in it bouncing on Nico's foot, and then going over to Gagamaru, who would put it in, which would make the scores even. Anyway, after that, I think that even if Kira is angry that Isagi didn't pass, then I think that they would start to work together as they realize that they are able to play off each other, and the match would still end up with Isagi making the winning goal of the match. Now honestly, the whole Wanima match would pretty much be the same as well. Kwon would still betray them as they were kind of losing against Team Nico, and he didn't have faith in his team, but luckily, Chigiri would still awaken in the end, and he would make the scores even in the end. Now after this match, I feel like Kira would start to get annoyed at himself that he hasn't been able to make any big differences in these games that they have played. He hasn't had a big impact on anything, but still, he is supposed to be the jewel of Japanese football. So I feel like that will start to get to him a bit mentally, and he will determine to give it his all next game, as it really is do or die for them. So we then get into the next match, which is against Team Nagi. It starts off like it did before with Kunigami, Chigiri, and Gagamaru being the strikers, as they are the top scorers. Anyway, I think where the story actually takes a turn is where Nagi and Ryo try to do their copy goal. However, if I'm honest, then I don't think that they will be able to. Kira will be on the defense, and I think that he will pay close attention to Nagi. So after Nagi has trapped the ball and it starts heading towards the ground, I feel like Kira will be there ready to steal it from him. Kira would try and form an attack with Isagi, and he passes it towards him. Isagi then passes the ball to one of the strikers, who unfortunately gets the ball stolen from Ryo. Ryo then gets the ball, and he passes it up to Nagi, who then makes his bicycle goal. Which, I mean, this is just too unpredictable and hard to stop. So it goes in, giving Team Nagi the first goal. Now the second goal will also be pretty hard to avoid, as Kira has to be with Nagi and kind of lock him down. So when Ryo and Zantetsu do their little play together, there is nothing to do, as Kira is occupied with Nagi, and no one good is able to stop Zantetsu from scoring. Kira then starts getting mad at just how useless his teammates are, and he really gets frustrated. However, that's when Bachira awakens and goes completely insane as he goes alone versus the whole of Team Nagi and scores the first goal for Team Z and makes the score become 2 versus 1 for Team Nagi. Anyway, this awakens something in all of the Team Z players, but especially Kira, who realizes that he can't keep sitting at the backline anymore and that he has to become a bit more selfish if he wants to win. Team Nagi then starts with the ball and tries to attack. However, this time Team Z is surprisingly coordinated, and they are playing together extremely well, not leaving anyone out and accounting for everything. Nagi then gets off a shot, however, instead of Igarashi blocking it, it's Naruhaya. The ball then falls down to Kira, who tells them to attack. He firstly passes it over to Bachira. However, Bachira gets trouble as Ryo is in front of him and has already seen through Bachira's skills once. Because of that, he passes the ball to Isagi, and the two of them trades passes to get behind Ryo. Bachira now has the ball. However, he's still super far from the goal, so he decides to alongside Kira, and Isagi just passes the ball in between them to get higher up on the pitch. They manage to get behind most of the no-names off Team Nagi, and Bachira has the ball and is about to go for it when Ryo suddenly pops up with another random guy from Team Nagi. Bachira looks to his right where he sees Isagi, so he passes to him. Isagi gets the ball, however he has to make a decision as he can shoot or passes to either Kira, Kunigami, or Chigiri, who is also up on the attack. However, Isagi remembers what Baru said and shoots. Unlucky for him, however, as Zantetsu manages to, just in time, get in front and touches the ball, which makes it fly high up into the sky. The ball then lands in front of Kunigami, and the Team Nagi players tries to go and stop him from shooting. However, it's too late, as Kunigami has already gotten away his shot and scored, making the goals even. Everyone goes to celebrate, and it's also time for the halftime break. However, Team Nagi isn't as happy as they have never been this, even with a team before, and it's starting to get to them as Ryo starts to get annoyed. However, he still says that the victory belongs to them. Anyway, they then get out and restart the game again. The ball then goes to Kunigami, then Bachira, who passes it up to Gagamaru, who tries to score but gets stopped by Zantetsu. Yeah, just like the original timeline. The ball then falls to Isagi, but once again he starts to hesitate to shoot, and before he knows it, he's already being blocked. He then looks around and wonders what to do. He then hears Kunigami screaming that there is someone behind. So without thinking, he passes to Kira on the side. Kira doesn't hesitate, however, and he shoots right away, even though he is a bit away, but sadly it hits the post. After that, Ryo gets the ball. However, Reichi is on his tail like a madman, and he loses his temper and elbows him, which gives Team Z the ball. And then Chigiri does his thing again as he goes against Zantetsu and manages to score, which puts Team Z in the lead. This is also where Nagi gets his awakening though, as he starts to act on his own, and along with Zantetsu and Ryo and his newfound flame, he manages to score a goal even though pretty much the whole of Team Z is against him. Anyway, he makes the scores even. This puts Team Z in a weird spot as they just lost their lead, not to mention that they awakened the true Nagi Seishiro. Anyway, the game restarts and Isagi passes to Bachira. Bachira gets in trouble though, and has to pass. He thinks that maybe they can break through with Chigiri again, so he passes to him, and together with the help from Isagi, he gets through and he tries to go for a shot, which sadly gets blocked. The ball then falls to Kunigami, who, unluckily, is at a bit of an angle. However, he still shoots towards the goal, but the ball gets blocked by Ryo, who in the last minute puts it away. But it's not over, as Kira had watched all of this go down, and he just waited for his time to go, which was now, as he went to the ball and put it into the goal. This makes everyone super hyped as they rush to celebrate together, as they are now in the lead. Not to mention that this will also lead to Isagi's awakening, as he was in shock that everything played out like how he had imagined it, and he was then ready to use these powers to score. Team Nagi then gets the ball, and Nagi completely styles on everyone, like truly embarrasses everyone. However, that's when, just in the original story, Kwon comes and tackles him down. This gives Team Nagi a free kick though. Ryo takes it, and he thinks that he has to score it as they are losing, and he tries to give it his all, but Iemen blocks it. The ball falls to Zantetsu, who shoots, but it also gets blocked. The ball then falls to Nagi, and he is so fired up as he can't imagine himself losing. However, as the ball falls to him, the wall of Iemen and Reichi appears, so he tries to kick over the ball by chipping it. However, as we know, that's when Gagamaru appears and stops that from happening. We then get the intense scene of Team Z rushing towards the goal. By trading passes with each other, Kunigami passes to Kira, who passes to Bachira on the wing, who then makes an awesome cross towards Isagi in the middle. And even though Nagi was determined not to let him score again, and he had come to devour Isagi with all that he had gotten, it still wasn't enough, as Isagi used his direct shot and won Team Z the game. They all went to celebrate together, as they had just cleared the first selection together. Now, as I have finished the script for the first episode, I realized that almost nothing has changed. I mean, Kira was in here and there, but he didn't do anything massive, which is on me, as I'm still trying to make this realistic. And I think that to this point, even if Kira was the best player on Team Z, I still don't think that he would have made such a big impact yet, as compared to the others. I think that Kira would be a very logic person, and not rush for the goal or anything like that. However, I know that if this What If series continues, then Kira will have a much bigger role. As in the second selection, it's where he really starts to shine, as he was kinda nerfed here by the formations that they had set up with some being strikers and other not. So yeah, but hopefully if you guys like it, then a lot more will happen in the next arc. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.